Hello guys. Recap Daily is back with another movie. So let's begin. In the beginning of the film, we see a couple returning home from an outing. Suddenly, they notice a box and are perplexed as to how it got into their home. A voice could be heard coming from the box. When the person opened it, a killer was inside. He attacks that person. Then scene gets changed to a boy. His name is Arkin, who is the main character of the movie. He works at someone's home. That family included total 4 people. The little girl was named Hannah. Recently they got shifted in new home where they were going for repairing. Hannah's father come to Arkin and asks him to repair door upstairs. Arkin goes upward to fix the door, but Hannah comes to him and asks him to play. Leaving his work incomplete, he goes out with Hannah. Arkin asks Hannah that which type of gift she expects from others. She replies, teddy bears. That's why I would like to take teddy bears in gift. Hannah's father comes there and asks Arkin about work progress. He replies that I was along with Hannah. I also have daughter like Hannah. Then he brings a gift of teddy bear for her daughter. His daughter gets very happy after receiving teddy bear. Here we come to know the financial condition of the family, which was very severe, and they had taken a lot of loan to survive. They only had 1 night left for returning the loan. Her wife asks him that how would you manage such big money in a very less time. He replies that I would arrange the money till night at any cost. Arkin meets with a robber who asks him to steal the diamond from the family for whom he works. He says that I will hand over 50% share of diamond to you. Arkin agrees for it. Keeping all the necessary belongings with him, Arkin goes for stealing. But a dog starts barking at him. Arkin gets surprised after seeing the dog. Because that family had no dog, he somehow manages to enter the home. He tries to open the locker containing that diamond. Then he whispers someone's voice. Arkin then hides. We see that there was a serial killer who had entered the house. After listening to his step voice, he starts finding Arkin. When he looks out for going, he notices 5 locks on the door, which meant that he was unable to go outside. Then Arkin remembers of his family. That how would he pay such a big loan? He goes back to the locker and tries to open it again. Then he hears someone shouting. It was felt as if someone was being tortured. He follows the voice and learns that it was Hannah's father who was being brutally tortured. When his father sees him, he thinks as if it was all planned by Arkin. That's why he tries to hit Arkin with something lying near. A rope gets stretched and his father gets hanged to it. Now it was clear that the killer had made traps at every location of the house, so that no one could escape. Then that killer frees Hannah's father and takes him along. When Arkin sees that, he decides to leave that place. He tries to call police, but a needle was put in the receiver which hurts him. Because that killer had put trap in the phone so that no one could make a call. Then he tries to move out of window, but his fingers get trapped in a blade. He gets hurt by that, but he somehow manages to take his hand from the trap. He sees that every place was full of traps. Then he enters the basement. He finds Hannah's father tied up. He explains him that he is here to help him. That's why you must not shout. Then he asks him about his wife and children's. He says that my wife is kept in a room, and my elder daughter has gone for the party, while Hannah is hid somewhere. Then he tells him that a gun is placed in the locker, using which you can kill the killer. Then he tells him the password of locker. Though he finds the gun after opening the locker, but he finds that there is no bullet in the gun. He also hides diamond from the locker so that he could pay all his loan after selling it. Then we see that the killer tortures Hannah's father so much that he kills him. Then he hangs him upwards and cuts his intestine out. He listens a voice in the cupboard and thinks that Hannah might be hiding there. When he opens the cupboard, he finds a box. Then he opens up the box. The same person appears from the box whom we saw at the start of the movie. Arkin asks him that what does the killer want. He tells that killer collects the human. He captures the one he likes but kills everyone else. He shouts and says Arkin to run away. Then Arkin puts him back in the box. Then he sees the opened window of other room. But his shoes stick to the floor. The killer had put the glue all over the floor. A cat was also stuck in the glue. He tries to help that cat and throws her out of the window. But when she was about to go out, she gets cut by a cutter. Which meant that the killer had put the trap there also. When the killer comes upward after listening to the cat, Arkin hides himself in the bed. When killer moves, Arkin comes back to Hannah's mother and relaxes her. He also instructs her that you should not see here and there. When he was taking Hannah's mother out, they see a blood. She sees the dead body of her husband and starts shouting. They move upward to save themselves, but the killer appears and injures her. Arkin hides at some place and sees the killer, who was having spider in his hand. Which meant that the killer liked the spiders very much. The killer sews the mouth of Hannah's mother, so that she may not shout again. Arkin now moves upward. He decides to jump from the window so that he may run. Then the car stop in front of house which had Hannah's elder sister. She came there along with her friend. Arkin shouts and forbids her to come inside. But she was unable to listen to the Arkin. When the killer realizes of someone outside, then he opens the locks and Hannah's sister comes inside along with her friend. They both go into the kitchen, but the killer sees them. Looking this is an opportunity, Arkin tries to hide inside the table so that he could inform Hannah's sister about the killer. Hannah's sister sees the killer and gets frightened. Her friend comes forward to fight the killer, but he puts him on a trap, falling upon which he dies. Then the killer attacks Hannah's sister, but her sister had already called the police. He holds her sister and ties her throat with a wire. He also tortures her. Arkin moves upward and sets up the alarm. Listening to the alarm, killer moves upward. Now Arkin frees Hannah's sister. Her sister gets shocked after seeing Arkin there. She thinks of Arkin as killer and takes out a scissor, but she falls upon a trap in doing so. And she died. Arkin gets worried by that. Then he moves to the person who was in the box. When he tries to pull him up, he finds that the killer had put hooks in his feet. That's why he was unable to bring him along with him. He breaks the window and comes out. He runs away, but then he sees Hannah, who was seeking help from the window. Arkin falls in mercy as he also had a daughter. That's why he comes back to save Hannah. The killer was about to kill Hannah. That Arkin approaches there and attacks the killer. Arkin and Hannah hide at a place. He tells her that we would capture the killer in a trap. We would put water on the floor and you would throw TV on the floor, so that the killer may die of electric shock. But the killer knows about their trap and he throws that old man in the trap. And the man dies of the current. Arkin tries to escape with Hannah, but the killer follows them. He was able to send Hannah to a safe place, but the killer holds him. When he wakes up, he finds himself tied. He asks the killer to kill him but free that girl. Please don't hurt her. But he doesn't reply him. In fact, he breaks his teeth with a hammer. Arkin was under pain. Then we see a police officer outside the house, who was there because Hannah's sister made a call to police. When he sees from the windows, he finds blood and dead bodies inside. The killer comes out and tries to distract the police officer. He also orders his dog to attack the police officer. Arkin finds the opportunity and he frees himself. Arkin sees that the killer has made a trap which would blast the house. Killer takes his dog inside the house to find the Hannah. Arkin makes a good move and burns the dog. Arkin goes to the killer and fights with him. He makes the dog injured and tries to escape with Hannah. Arkin finds a mirror and put that in front of door. When killer comes there, he sees their reflection and thinks as if they were in front of him. Killer shoots them and Arkin cuts the wire of his trap. The light fixture falls upon the killer. Arkin takes the keys and moves outside with Hannah. Police arrives there and rescues them both after taking control. When he was in the ambulance, he takes out the diamond from his pocket. He was happy that he steal that and all of his loan would be vanished off now. Arkin asks the nurse to call his wife, but then killer arrives and strikes the ambulance. The killer arrives at the Arkin. Arkin requests him to let him talk to his wife once. But the killer doesn't listen to him. He puts him in the box and takes him along. Which meant that he chose Arkin for collection. Part 1 of film ends here. Now we would explain part 2 of the film. At the start of film we see a girl named Elena who was going back to home with her father. Elena was going back from her mother's funeral. Her father says that I love you much. I will never leave you alone. In fact, I will always be with my daughter. Then they get an accident and the scene ends up here. In the next scene we see that the killer was discussed everywhere, because he had made many victims in the city. Then we see Elena again, who has grown up now. Her father was asleep, that's why she goes to the party without informing him. When she was in the party she sees her best friend with another girl. She feels very bad. She was filled with anger, that's why she punches her best friend. We notice that serial killer was observing everything. He had put traps everywhere, so that no one could go alive. Elena gets upset by her best friend. Then she goes into the room and cries a lot. She sees a box there, which was moving. When she opens up the box we see Arkin inside. He seeks help from her and says if you wouldn't help he would kill everyone. As the box opens up, trap machine starts working and many get cut by that. Arkin frees himself and runs away. Then Elena notices that her female friend was captured in cage, and the killer was about to crush them with iron mesh. Elena wanted to help her friend but she was unable to do that. The killer crushes everyone and kills them. The killer sees Elena and he gets inspired by her. He likes her. Elena runs away and seeks for help from Elena. The killer comes there and captures her while Arkin breaks the window and runs away. The killer puts Elena in a box and takes her with himself. Arkin was in hospital now, where his treatment was undergoing. Her wife visits him in hospital. Arkin finds flour on the table and thinks as if her wife brought them. Then he says thanks to her. Her wife says that I have not brought these flowers. Her wife finds a note on which, for collection, was written. Arkin understands that these flowers are sent by that killer. Arkin asks her wife to take their daughter to her mother so that killer may not harm them. At night we see a person in Arkin's room whose name was Lucello. Lucello was Elena's protector. He asks her for help so that he can contact Elena, because he knew that only Arkin could lead him to that killer. Arkin tells him that the killer only makes one person alive and kills every other. And the killer gives life to the only person he likes. In my opinion, Elena is alive, so we have to search for his location. Then we see Elena, who finds herself caught in the same box. She looks outside from the hole of the box and sees a person tied up with chains. The killer arrives there and he takes out his tongue. Then the killer puts an iron mask on his face which hurts him badly. Lucello readies his team in order to find the location of that killer. And Arkin was about to take them to his location. Because Arkin had drawn all the direction on his body to reach to that killer. The location of the killer was a hospital which was closed from a long time. Then we see Elena, who tries to open up the box, and she opens the box successfully. Then she finds a box nearby. Upon opening it, she finds a dead body of Guy. Elena hears the footsteps of the killer. So she hides herself. The killer finds out that Elena ran away from the box. The killer was not worried as he knew that whole place was covered with traps and she won't run. He takes out some spiders who run over Elena's body. Then we see that Arkin and Lucello's team had reached the killer's location. When Arkin tries to enter the hospital building, alarm starts working. And the killer comes to know that someone has entered the building. That's why he activates all the traps. Elena goes into the tunnel after that. When the team was searching for killer, he captures a person and kills him. Elena enters in a room where she finds another box. When she opens the box, a girl comes out who was very frightened. She asks Elena that how she got out. Elena replies that I have distracted the killer. Elena was suspecting that this girl may be involved with the killer. A person gets trapped in a hurry and rods get fitted into his body and he dies. Arkin finds an opportunity and gets separated as they were dying one by one. Arkin never wished to die. He wanted to stay alive. Arkin enters into a room where he finds pictures of the insects. It was obvious that someone was experimenting on those insects. The killer tries to attack Arkin, but he saves himself. Elena was trying to find the way out with that girl. She says that the killer likes her. That's why he is testing her. I will not go out. Elena tries to explain her, but she slaps Elena in return. The killer reaches there and Elena runs away. Elena hides herself in a location, and the attacker is on the lookout for her. Arkin discovers a way to the location where the killer used to keep the dead bodies. However, his foot slips and he falls on the dead bodies. Arkin notices some people who were tied to chain and they later attack him. Then Arkin runs upward where he sees that the killer has collected the insects. He had also collected humans as insects. Then Arkin finds a girl there. The killer had nailed her into walls. She asks for help from Arkin, but he was helpless. The killer reaches there and kills her by dividing her throat. Elena enters the room from where she could look outside from the hole. Elena shouts and asks for help, but they were unable to hear her voice. Lucello's team capture Arkin and ask him to remain with them. The killer traps a person of team in hooks and kills him. He captures the female member of team and takes her along with him. Lucello and Arkin find a girl who seeks help from them. They thought her of as victim and they keep her along. Then they hear of their female member. Lucello follows the voice and steps forward. He notices that the voice was coming from speaker, which indicated that it was a trap. Lucello tries to escape, but a blast happens. Lucello was safe in the blast. Then they find Elena in another room who had saved the female member of the team. Elena tries to convince Lucello that they must not believe that girl as she was involved with killer. She is his partner, but they were unable to understand her and thought of her as victim. Lucello was happy to see Elena alive and he promises her that he will take her out safely. Elena shows them the place where they could see two people from outside. Arkin gathers an idea and he shoots a person on foot. Police approaches there and Arkin shoots the police also. Arkin tells them that police would come here to save them from the killer. The girl gets angry at the plan and she locks everyone in the room. She says that you people can't be saved from our trap. By mistake, her foot falls upon a trap and big trap gets activated. She dies at the spot. When Killer sees her dead, he becomes very angry. He takes out his guns and brings 2 dogs. He orders his dogs to attack those persons. The killer starts firing upon him and Lucello gets injured. Arkin kills the dogs of that killer. But the killer catches Elena again. We see that Lucello's hand was trapped in a trap. That's why he orders Arkin and female member to go and save Elena. Then they go out to save Elena. We see that police had approached there with full force. The killer captures Arkin, Elena and female member in a cage. Arkin says the killer that he will kill him. Then the killer puts fire near the cage. Arkin opens the cage by his hand from outside. All the tree members try to run from there. The killer reaches out there. He attacks the female member and kills her. Killer hits Arkin and Elena very badly. Then Lucello approaches there, who was free from trap. He fight with the killer and combats with him. But the killer kills Lucello and Arkin hits the killer very badly. He throws the killer into the dead bodies. The killer gets the fire from the dead bodies. All sides of the building were occupied by the fire. Therefore it was impossible to leave the building. Elena breaks all the boxes of that killer which he collected, from which water comes out and all the fire gets extinguished. Arkin and Elena come out of the building. Police rescues them when it sees them, and know they were safe. Elena meets her father and they were very happy now. But his father gets sad after learning of Lucello's death. Then Arkin sees that the dead body of the killer was not present there. In fact, he left his mask. This means that killer was still alive. Then we see the scene from future, where the killer was residing his new house. He hears of someone's voice there. When he goes there to check, he finds no one there. Arkin comes there and points out gun on him. Arkin tells that there are 14 people in the area who research on insects and you are one of them. That's why I got successful in reaching upon you. He asks Arkin whether he would shoot him. Arkin says no, I will not give you an easy death. But I will make you suffer. I will make you feel the pain. Like you did with the people. Arkin captures him in a box and takes him along with him. Now Arkin would make him realize the real meaning of pain. And the film ends here. Thanks for watching.